Hi, welcome to How To with Jenny. Today I'm going to look at some of food for Slimming World again, and we're going to look at Chinese food. So lots of people ask online, what can I eat? So I thought I'd just go through some of the things that you can have in your house so you can make healthy food and healthy Chinese food. So what I'll do first is just show you some of the healthy things. So today I've made myself a nice vegetable base to make some spring rolls. So I thought that was a really good place to start to show you what I've done. So the first thing is I just took a carrot and I grated that very finely, and also a small onion, some red pepper, and just a huge sort of slice of cabbage. So for that, what I've done is I've made this lovely stir fry base. So what I did was I just chopped everything really finely, and I hope you can see that there. So I've got in there, I've got onion, everything I mentioned, carrot, onion, pepper, and some cabbage. So the other thing I did with that, what I did was I just cut everything up really finely, and I've just actually stir fried everything individually. What you'll find is often in the supermarkets they give you one large pack, but everything cooks at a different time. So to be honest, it just took me a few minutes extra, and I just fried everything off and just put that to the side. And the other thing that I did want to mention was these packets that you can get from the supermarket, which are really good for flavouring up. And this is diced ginger. So I'll just show you that packet, and ginger just comes really small dice or sort of grated almost, or chopped, and that's excellent just for adding in. And the other one I've got here is garlic, so again just about the same size, very small, and these are great just to add in to your dishes to give it lots of flavour. So all of those foods are also speed foods, and I'll give you a really handy tip. I was watching MasterChef one night, I love cooking, and John Torode was cooking a stir fry, and he said, do you know you can actually use some water to stir fry? So you may already know this, you may have been taught this in class, but one of the best things to save on calories or sins or fat is just to actually add a wee bit of water, and you can stir fry in just a tiny bit of oil and also some water, and that really saves adding lots and lots of oil, which is often in takeaway food. So the other thing is what protein you want to add. So if you're vegetarian, obviously you would leave it there, and that would be a really nice meal. But if you did want to add some protein, I would suggest either prawns. So it's a small bag of prawns. King prawns are really nice. They'll defrost very quickly at room temperature, or you can put them in a little cold water from the tap. Do not use hot, but if you put cold water, they'll actually defrost in about 5 to 10 minutes. And the other thing that's really handy to have in is either raw chicken in slices or this cooked chicken. So this is just a bag of cooked chicken slices. Again, this will just defrost at room temperature. Just take it out about half an hour or an hour before you're going to cook, and you can just have that on hand to add in to your Chinese. So the next thing is what do you eat with it? So what we find is that one of the best things is just boiled rice, plain boiled rice. Now when I was young, I never would have considered boiled rice from a Chinese takeaway, but when you get a bit older, you think actually it's quite nice. So you can have some boiled rice. And the one thing I would say is you do see a lot of creators online, and they make these dishes and they sort of pack in lunches, and they say, oh, you can eat this lunch for the next 5 days, or I make this and it lasts me a week. Well, the bad news is that boiled rice, when it is left in a fridge, is one of the most poisonous foods that there are in the planet. So I've done the food health and safety test 4 times. They do just suggest that you renew it. So I've often worked places where I've had to have that so I can supervise others in the kitchen. So I would say please make sure that you don't use boiled rice kept in the fridge for more than they do recommend, just like 1 or 2 days. So please do not try and make something up and have this lying. Now you can freeze it if you're going to make a dish. You could sort of freeze up the rice, but please don't think that you can just have that lying in your fridge and keep eating it all week. You are best just to get it fresh, or you could also use a microwave bag and then just use that over a couple of days, and that would also save you as well. Now moving on from there is noodles. Now noodles again are something that's free on Slimming World, but you do have to be very careful that you make the right choices. So first of all, I'm just going to show you the ones that aren't good for sins or for fat. So these packets here, just these sort of like small packets, quite often you get them for children, or you can get them for making ramen noodles. But I would say that these often have quite a lot of fat content. They're actually sort of preserved by frying them in fat, and that's how they sort of preserve them. So I would say I wouldn't get these sort of like instant noodle packs if you were wanting to keep to your diet. What is much better is if you get these types of noodles. So they just come in the Chinese section, and they're sort of like a nest, or just sort of like dried noodles. So if you just check these packets, they don't have a lot of fat. So they've got 1 gram per, in fact they've got 0.4 grams per third of a pack, whereas the other one has over 7 grams. So you can see the difference there straight away. So these ones would be free, the other ones wouldn't. And these are from the Chinese supermarket, and again, this is the type that you want. You just want egg noodles, and you don't want them in that little packet. And the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was these spring roll wrappers. So these are a kind of new thing to us. Obviously they've had them in China and Japan for a very long time, and they are fantastic. So again, they're very low in calories, they're made out of rice flour, they're very thin, so really you're not adding a lot of calories to your dish when you're using them, you're just adding a sort of wrapper to wrap things in. So today I'm going to make some spring rolls with some of the rice that I've got and this vegetable mixture. So I will show you a picture of that at the end, but at the moment I just wanted to say that these are fantastic. Now I'm not going to attempt to do a video on it. There's lots of videos online, so just to recap, it's a spring roll wrapper. These are called Vietnamese. Either that they're called rice paper or rice wrappers. So that's what you're looking for. They're like a lovely clear colour. You just don't know if you can see it there. So they're almost see-through, and you just have to dip them in hot water, and then they soften enough for you to use. They are quite tricky, so watch a few videos before you give that an attempt. But these are very low in calories, very low in fat, so you'll find that these are really good things to use. So having talked about that, there's one more thing I wanted to mention, and that is monosodium glutamate. So this is called MSG, and it's what Chinese restaurants and takeaways put into their food to give it a really nice taste. So it's basically a flavour enhancer. So it works very similar to salt or pepper, but it's a sort of neutral taste, and it's one of these things they call umami. So it just gives this lovely savoury taste, and it sort of pulls the flavour out. So if you find that you're cooking food and that you cannot get that nice rich taste you get from the Chinese, I would suggest that you maybe pick up a packet of this. Now a little goes a long way. You're talking half a teaspoon into a meal for 2, or sort of just a sort of level teaspoon if you're cooking for 4. So again, I do follow someone online, Zhang's, and they do lots of Chinese cookery sort of videos on YouTube and Instagram, and they're really good, and they say that they've done a lot of research into this, and it's not as bad for you as you think. But as everything, it's up to you if you want just to try that as a flavour enhancer, bearing in mind to use it very sparingly, or you can just leave it out altogether. I did get that from Amazon, and it was quite reasonable, but it does last a very long time. So I've got it in a screw plastic tub just to make sure that it doesn't get damp. Now once you've made your Chinese, you have to think of the different accompaniments that you're going to have to go with it. So again, one of the things I would say is straight off, Thai sweet chili sauce. It's very popular, but it's very high in sugar. So a general Thai sweet chili sauce is just made almost virtually of sugar. So I would say if you are going to have some of that, you can just make sure that you pop in the sins for it, and I would say just don't use an awful lot. We like the really mild one, and I also make my own. So I do have a recipe how to make your own, and you can use a sweetener to make your own, and that would make it just sin free really if you use sweetener. I do prefer to use a bit of sugar in mine, and I just don't eat a lot of it. So just beware, don't eat too much of that or just count the sins. Things like soy sauce are free on Slimming World, and they give everything a really good taste. So you can get dark. Dark gives a richer flavour. There's also a light soy sauce, which I don't like that much. In Chinese cooking you do use them for different things, so you might have both in the house. This is a low salt. So this is a really good option if you're trying to cut back on salt, or if you want to put a lot into your food, because it can become quite salty, Chinese food. If you are flavouring, I would say if you're looking for sweetness, I would say a tiny bit of sweetener, but if you're trying to avoid sweeteners for health reasons, which I do, just a little bit of honey or a tiny bit of sugar. What you'll find is the amount that you're adding is a fraction to what you would get if you were getting a Chinese. So if you are making a dish that you want sort of slightly sweet, then you can add in just a little bit of honey. I mentioned black bean sauce earlier, and this is the type that I really like to use. I've got a recipe on this for chicken and black bean sauce, and it uses this sauce and a magic ingredient. Now I'll let you look up the video to find out what that magic ingredient is, but this is an excellent dish for someone on Slimming World. And I would say that some of these sauces you might be a bit confused if you thought I'll just pop on along to my local Chinese supermarket, buy them, and then you don't know what to do with them. So the first time I bought this, I was living at home with my mum, and I just dumped the whole jar in. It was a smaller jar, but I just dumped the whole jar in, and it was absolutely horrible, and we had to throw the whole meal out, and I was really disappointed. But thankfully now we've got lots of people giving us advice online, and I can tell you now that if you do buy a sauce like this, this particular one, you literally use a heaped teaspoon for 2 people. So you'll be very surprised to hear that, and you think, oh wow, that's not very much, but you do that and then you add in other ingredients. So this isn't a jar of pour-in sauce like you would get, you know, a sort of spaghetti sauce or a pasta sauce. This is like a condiment. It's something that you use to cook with. But this one is excellent. It just tastes like the Chinese. It's really good. And if you are going along these spring roll ideas, one of the other healthy things you can do is get like a sort of Thai fish sauce. So this is a little bottle that I got. It's just Thai fish sauce. So again, that's fairly healthy because it's not got much oil in it. So it's more sort of like vinegar and fish sauce, and that's got lots of chilli in it. So obviously you have to watch for the spice if you don't want it too spicy. But these are quite good because what you'll find is a little goes a long way. So if you made up your spring rolls, you might dip it in and you get lots and lots of flavour, but not a lot of calories. So that's a great thing to have as well. And I think I'm nearly at the end of the things I wanted to show you, but I did want to show you this. So this is Chinese salt and pepper seasoning. Now there are a few different kinds. I got this in a local shop, and it was very, very cheap. I think it was £1.50. Now again, it does have sugar as one of the sort of main things, and it's got that MSG or monosodium glutamate. So if you do want to avoid that, then don't buy it. But this is really good. It's got it just says it's got chili, fennel, ginger, anise, cinnamon, cloves, and there's a warning about it may contain traces of peanuts or mustard. But this is really good. You do have to watch if it gets damp as it clumps up a wee bit. So again, I just keep that in a tub. But that's really good, and again, you're using a tiny amount. So this is really good for salt and pepper fries if you want to make your own healthy fries, and you can just put a wee bit on the end. And it's also just a great general seasoning for any dish that you make. So I find this is a really good one, or you can just use Chinese 5-spice. This is basically Chinese 5-spice with some salt and a wee bit of sugar. But as I say, the amount you'll be using for a dish is about half a teaspoon. So you're talking maybe like 1 sin that would be it for the whole dish. So if you're cooking a dish for 2 people, you're talking about half a sin that you're adding in for your flavour. So I just want to encourage you just to go ahead and have a look at having some Chinese. So a lot of Chinese food is super healthy and they do use a lot of vegetables. So as I say, what I'm going to do later is I'm just going to make up some spring rolls. I'm going to use this vegetable mix, which is all free food. The whole thing is free. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of rice. And I would say just remember the third rule. So the third of your plate is really to be vegetables. So I would advise you didn't eat an awful lot of rice with just a little veg. You're trying to get that sort of balance of lots and lots of veg for speed food, and not a lot of rice and not a lot of noodles or like these wrappers. So I'm just going to put a little bit of rice in, and I'm going to put my veg, and then I'm just going to use a dipping sauce. So I will show you that later. So here we've got just a picture, and you can see on the right hand side, this is the wrapper which is out of the packet, and it's sort of see-through. It's got this pattern on it, and the other one has been just softened under a hot tap. Then you will just want to add, I've added my rice and my veg, and you can add either chicken or prawns at this time. And then they're very delicate, so then you want to just wrap them up. Now, I did try them with plain sort of like vegetables and noodles, and I found they were quite wet. The rice really helps to sort of hold it together, or you can also use rice noodles. And then you just want to gently fry it off in a frying pan with a little oil. You can try cooking them in an air fryer, but I found they broke quite easily. And then you want to just serve them up. Just remember that if you do use a dipping sauce, I've got satay and sweet chilli, just not to use too much. So if you've got any questions, let me know. And if you want to just chat about anything to do with Chinese cookery, you can. I would recommend Zhang's. They're really good, but they're not Slim and World friendly. So they're really good. If you know how to cook, then you would know how you would change things to make it a bit more friendly. They do deep fry a lot of food, but their actual videos are absolutely excellent. So if you can just figure out for yourself how you could cook something, possibly just a few sprays of oil and pop it in an air fryer, or as I say, stir fry with a little bit of water instead of using lots of oil, then Chinese is an excellent cuisine to look at if you are trying to watch the calories. So I hope you've really enjoyed it, and we'll see you again. Bye.